So I've renamed the files I've just shortened their names, but I have to make sure that this Q file matches the name of this file right here. So I'll just take the file, rename, copy, and I'm going to edit with Notepad. This first line right here has to be the same exact name as our file. I can close it. And otherwise you'll run into errors, but if you do this step correctly, everything should be okay. But I'm not going to rename them since I already did it this other way. For the rest of the games, we're going to need a couple of programs: Image Burn, Power ISO, Daemon Tools Lite. Daemon Tools to mount ISOs, Power ISO to convert ISOs to bin and Q files, and Image Burn to combine several track files into one, I believe. So I'm going to start with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And this is a Sega CD game. And all they give us in this folder right here is a ISO file and an MP3 file, which we can pretty much ignore for the time being. So with this ISO file, I need to mount it with Daemon Tools Lite. So I'll open Daemon Tools and drag it to the empty F drive. Go to minimize that. Now that it's mounted, I can go to Power ISO, Tools, and go to View Virtual Drive. Actually, make CD, DVD, BD image file. And I will select .bin, and the drive is picking up from Daemon Tools. And so we'll go ahead and change the directory to where we have our CD based games and save there, and then hit OK. So once this process is finished, we will have over here a bin file and a Q file. Now, why they're named Mega Drive Game Special, I don't know, but I will rename them to Power Rangers. And I'll go ahead and copy this name while I'm at it. At the same time, I'll rename both files should be Power Rangers equal files. So the Q file, again, I'm going to edit with Notepad and make sure that this says the correct name, the matching name for this. And then I'll just hit Command S or Control S and save, and now this should read the same name. Okay, now that we have our bin and our Q file, again, we need to repeat the process of copying them to this folder, our ripping tools folder, and run the bin Q file bat. The bat that converts them to .chd, which is what we need for CD-based games with the Sega CD or the TurboGrafx CD, because if we do not do this way, the game will run without music. So if you get a zip file with lots of MP3s with it, and you don't do it this way, it will probably not play the music. So you must do it correctly, otherwise your game will run without music. And so that's going to compress and convert to CHD files. We might as well do Sonic CD. And this one seems to have a bin file and we'll see if it has the Q file with it. Yeah, so this one is easy. We just copy these files into our folder with our bat file. Wait for that to convert, and then we can convert again. So we'll do Sonic CD bin and Q file, paste them into our folder, run the bat file, and repeat. Can now delete the bin and Q files and drag my CHD file into here, and we can go back to Hakchi and add Sonic CD and Power Rangers. So we need to select which mod will run the games, and since they are Sega CD, it is the Genesis Plus. Apply and close. And then we can right click, download box for selected games, box art. And it should apply box art to the games. So that takes care of Sega CD, TurboGrafx. I really don't know a lot of games for the TurboGrafx CD, but let's look at Twisted Metal, because I know this game has a lot of tracks in it. So I'm just gonna unmount the Power Rangers ISO and extract Twisted Metal. So this is a PS1 game with multiple tracks, and you'll see what I mean. So we have a Twisted Metal queue and a bunch of bin files. So we're going to need image burn to combine all of these bin files into one large bin file. And to do that, we'll use a software from our tools. So it's called PSX to PSP. And when we run this program, we'll get an ISO, and then we'll include all of the bin files in here. So I will load image burn. So I think for the multiple tracks, if I remember correctly, we have to mount the Q file onto Damon Tools Lite, create image file from disk. It will load the virtual drive that we just mounted, and go ahead and select the drive that the location, the directory where we are at, and then just hit save, and then we'll hit this button right here, read. And so this should create a combined bin file for Twisted Metal. So now I have a bin file and a Q file. If you notice that the bin file's file size is 716 megabytes, and if you add up all of these bin files, it will equal that right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and just rename this Twisted Metal 2. And this old Twisted Metal 2Q file, I think it's safe to delete it. So actually, yeah, might as well rename them now. And I'm going to double check this with Notepad to make sure that this says Twisted Metal 2. and then Control S to save, and that takes care of that. So we used image burn to make and combine one single bin file